podcasters throughout the world from Canada. This is the Collector Car Drive-Thru Podcast, presented by Cars by Taylor. Here are your hosts, Nicole Taylor and Paul Taylor Sr.
Welcome to the Collector Car Drive-Thru Podcast. I'm Paul Taylor, and this is my lovely wife, Nicole Taylor. Today we're going to have who on, hun?
We're going to have our dear friend Dannö Drouin. He's a pinstriper, an artist, a graphic artist. He also is right now doing special courses for children, and he's taken an initiative to do that. So we are going to dive right in with him and talk about my bike too.
Good morning, Dannö. How are you, sir?
Fine and dandy like cotton candy.
Right on, brother. Let's start out with, tell us where you're from. Tell us a little bit about your business. And let's start there. Let's start with your business name and tell us what you do.
Sure. Thanks. Thanks, guys, too, for having me on here. So I'm Dannö from Blackheart Designs out of Brantford, Ontario, Canada, which is located about an hour southwest of Toronto in relation to Toronto there. So I'm a pinstripe artist, sign painter, graphic designer, teacher, father, dog lover.
Awesome.
And
really good friend.
Really good friend.
And a great friend of my lovely friends, Nicole and Paul. Absolutely.
Right on. Well, we're delighted to have you on, right, hon?
Very much so.
It's been too many years, and one of the ideas of the show is to kind of get people back together again.
Yeah,
so
that reconnect. It's important. We've really missed you over the years. I think that there's a lot of viewers that will definitely remember who you are, and think, wow, okay, that's what he's been up to. So definitely it was something that Paul and I said, you know what, one of the most important that we have to have on is Dannö. So
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us today. So I want to ask you, just because out of curiosity, what age did you start this talent?
That's a long-winded story. I mean, right from being a child, old enough to hold a crayon is when it started. And I know my mother, to this day, she feels bad for punishing me for drawing on the walls and the floor. But I mean, that's right when I started, and it just progressed to drawing in art class in school, and I remember bugging the teacher at the beginning of every year, when are we doing geometry, so I can get the compass and the ruler out and do that type of work as well. And then it just developed. Once I managed to finally kind of get my act together in high school so that I could transfer to a art school. And once I got into that art school in Woodstock, Ontario, College Ave Secondary School, it was highly regarded as being the art school to go to. And I met two of the most amazing, dedicated, passionate art teachers ever in my life that I owe everything really to. Oh, wow. And they introduced us to, the industry really. It wasn't artsy stuff. It was screen printing, production. There was also offset printing department with another teacher. I didn't really get into that, but the screen printing, that attracted me. It caught my eye. And then from there, somebody came to the school interested in having a student at Christmas time doing some Christmas windows, and nobody took it up. After class, I went to the teacher's lounge, asked Mr. Baker, what's this window painting thing about, it says it's painting on glass, Santa Claus, Rudolph, etc. First thing I said is there any money in it?
Right.
And I was like, am I going to get paid?
Yeah.
Because I was looking to get a career going eventually in something art related, and I didn't know what really at that point. I certainly didn't expect to be where I am now.
Right.
So back at that point, your focus wasn't already on, I'm going to pinstripe vehicles. It was more art.
No,
okay.
Not at all.
Understood.
No.
So at what point did you make that transition from artist to pinstriper?
Well, it progressed pretty quickly through the window painting, because I did the first job at this one bank, and then one of the other businesses come over and said, can you do our windows? yeah, so I went and did their windows. In fact, got my one friend Keith involved too, who he and I are still in the art trade, and he owns a sign shop in London. And he and I work together still to this day. And we both then started painting windows. So eventually one of the customers asked if we could paint them a sign, which I said, I don't know. I'll have to go ask my teacher.
Right.
Back to school, asked the teacher about doing this sign, and they explained how to lay out the lettering and to put this sign together. And that was it. Then it was lettering, and I fell in love with lettering.
So what was the first item that you pinstriped then?
So then once I got into pinstriping it, I just was doing panels, like just stuff at home. I wasn't touching any vehicles because I knew just based on seeing professional work, and I was not a professional. I knew I had a long way to go. So I painted everything in the house, painted panels, but I had lots of friends saying, paint my car, paint my bike. And I'd say, no, until finally one friend insisted that I pinstripe his snowmobile.
Okay.
So I said, okay. He took the shell off and brought it to me, and it was plastic. So I had to I had to go get a different type of paints. I had to get the House of Color line, the urethanes, to adhere to the plastic, because normally I was using one shot, which was the lettering enamel, and I was used to that.
Okay.
So I had that sign painting background, so the brush control, I knew the paint well, that sort of thing. The eye-hand control, I had that down. So it wasn't until many years later that I got into the pinstriping. I decided one day, after looking at some stuff online or whatever, there was always in the back of the trade magazine, the Signcraft trade magazine, a couple of pages dedicated to these guys that were aliens to me. I was like, how do you do this symmetrical, fancy?
Right.
And I had one brush that I couldn't figure out how to control it, but I just started practicing. And every night, over and over and over, till I then had this Skidoo shell to start working on. And so I went at it, and he loved it. And from there, it exploded, because once I had it evolved, but I had the confidence through my friends, luckily. I've got great friends, great customers that gave me the confidence. He paid me, so that I was like, I'm getting paid to do this. He says that it looks great. I thought it looked great as well. My lines were good. Overall, the design was good. So just to have that confidence from a friend, and from there, I was able to then take on work, and then I just continued forward with it.
Nice.
And I shifted gears there at that point too, because I was
once you get over that stress point of actually putting paint on a vehicle, somebody else's vehicle. Okay, I've done it. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. There's when somebody takes their pride and joy in their hot rod or their motorcycle, a thing that's really passionate to them, and they just hand it to you,
right,
and say, have at it.
Well, and it's much different. That transition, for me, what's always amazed me about what you do is not necessarily the artistic work that's involved. I've met other artists over my life, and talented artists, but what amazes me about what you do is going from one side of the vehicle to the other. And I get, when you brought up the geometry, I went, right, okay, I've actually witnessed you do this in person, when you're drawing out your lines and whatnot. It kind of answers my own question. Okay, it's all pre-drawn, and that's how we get it. But it's easy to say that. It's another thing to do it.
Well, not a lot. I don't pre-draw too much.
Right.
I do my grids.
Your guidelines.
I work off of the grid system.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what amazes me about what you do is when you do that, you just have those basic guidelines, and you stand back and you look on either side of a vehicle, or especially a tank on a motorcycle. Because it's not like you can see the whole thing from any one perspective unless you're looking down, which changes everything again.
Like I said, meticulous.
Yeah.
Like,
and
perfect.
It's like you get it bang on every time. I'm like,
oh, how did you do this?
Yeah.
So,
Right.
it's something that I know personally, but I think that it would be an interesting point for the viewers to understand. Are you left-handed? Are you right-handed? And does it make a difference?
I'm primarily left-handed, although I have taught myself to pinstripe right-handed as well.
You're so talented.
Mostly it's well, with motorcycle tanks, especially when they're on the bike, if you've got to get into, if it's got a fairing on it, you've got to get in behind the fairing. It's hard to do it with my right hand or my left hand, so I had to teach myself with my right, just to pull, a 4-inch, 6-inch line or maybe longer.
To get that same brush control with your right as you do with your left.
Yeah, I had to. Well, and I learned off of right-handed people though. Like the sign painting, the guy that taught me, he was right-handed, so I had to pay attention what he was doing with his right hand and switch it to my left hand. But being a lefty, you living in a right-handed world primarily. So a lot of the things that I've had to learn how to do is through the right-handed method, but I have to switch it. So I'm able to. It's a learning curve, but it's one I'm willing to try at it.
It's interesting. It's interesting you're saying that because Paul Jr. He's very artistic. Has been since I want to say even a couple months old. We've always been throwing art at him, and he has that passion. And we noticed a couple years ago that he was predominantly using his left hand. And most recently in the last year of doing art, I know, and I've told him, we know some amazing artists that are left-handed, and so I'll be sure to let him know that you too are finding that the training with the right hand is advantageous, if you will, because we've noticed a few times he's doing it, and we stand back and we look and we go, look at you go. And he pushes himself, and he tries to do different techniques with the brush or with the crayon or the marker, and we think, wow, dude, what are the possibilities? So
left-handed people are the only ones that are in the right mind, because the right side of your mind is what controls your left side of your body. And with Paul Jr., art is sometimes a voice.
Oh yeah,
people
especially with autism.
Express themselves.
Yeah.
If I took some art therapy training recently. Oh, cool. And the psychologist that was running the program, she really opened my eyes up to a lot of.
I've done art therapy, and I'm a huge believer. When we adopted Leanne, I suggested the same. I'm huge with art therapy. And Leanne did some art therapy, and it helped her along the way. And
I think people would actually be shocked to walk through the house and see how much art that we have that we've done over the years, right? Boxes and boxes.
Most people come in and say, "Wow, you're very proud parents."
I go, wait, that one's actually mine.
Exactly. It's something that we do, and most people wouldn't even know. But yeah, we quite enjoy doing art. That's something that calms us and has brought joy to our world. So it's interesting. I can't wait to share this with him because it's inspirational.
Absolutely.
It's really inspirational for the young generations coming in as well. We did a recent interview where we're realizing, there's a lot of inspiration for the younglings. And it's really cool because, back in the day, I remember when I wanted to come into the industry, and my father was a mechanic, and he did a lot of different things with doing cast car and helping friends with race teams. And I was really interested, but scared at the same time because there wasn't really, there wasn't an ability to really connect with people that were in the automotive industry. So I think that, bless the internet, we have some downsides to the internet every now and then, but this has actually helped a lot of the young generations connect. So thank you so very much for this. I really appreciate it.
Tell you what, everybody, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to be back with Dannö Drouin in just a few minutes. Dannö, thanks so much. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
CARS, Canadian Automotive Restoration Specialists.
Cars by Taylor is your car concierge in Eastern Ontario and Western Quebec. Are you buying, selling, or trading? Do you need maintenance services, modification, or restoration? Maybe you just need some consultation on a project or need a vehicle moved. We're here to provide services for your collector, classic, sports, or luxury vehicle. Check out our website at carspecialist.com or call us at 613-371-4440. At Cars by Taylor, we know we're not working on just any vehicle.
C-A-R-S, Canadian Automotive Restoration Specialist.
Welcome back to the Collector Car Drive-Thru Podcast. I'm Paul Taylor, and this is Nicole Taylor. And we are, of course, with our friend Dannö Drouin. You got a question for Dannö?
I do. I'm so curious because we haven't had the chance to talk about the art classes and the initiative that you have behind that. So I know I've seen some promotion and I've heard you talk about it, but I'd really like you to share with the viewers this beautiful initiative that you have done, and I'd like to share, how they can get a hold of you for these classes.
Thank you so much, Nicole, for bringing that up. It's something that it does mean a lot to me. So I've been teaching children's art classes for a couple of years now. They're kind of few and far between. It's when my schedule can fit them in. And we try to run, 10 weeks or 12, one day through the week, either in person or it's been on Zoom too. But it's through the Six Nations Reserve, which is not too far from Brantford here. I had been teaching workshops, adult workshops for pinstriping and the lettering with my good friend Rolly, and we had done that for a few years. And I at one point had an idea that I want to do something with children. I want to give back somehow, just based on my own experiences, my own introduction to art from an early age. And I wanted to maybe come up with something. And I really only talked to a couple of people about it. Like I said, I got this idea. I don't know what to do. And then I got a phone call one day from a good friend of mine who runs the family and children's services out on Six Nations there in Oswego. And she said, hey, Dannö, got a question. Would you mind maybe, if you're interested, putting together an art program and then even teaching it? And this just came within
Written in the stars, my friend.
Within a week of me coming up with this thought, and there it was. And I was like, yes.
It.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just yes.
Energy.
When? So I had to put together a teacher's plan, and I'm like, that's not a teacher's plan.
What's a teacher's plan?
Yeah, and I had so I just put together some ideas and stuff. I mean, I
winged it.
Yep. I winged it. Yeah, I certainly did.
Good for you, though.
And it was accepted, and they are very so good to work with out there.
Blessings. You deserve this.
All the supplies, anything I wanted for the children, boom, it was there. They had it.
That's amazing. Yeah.
The kids were just
especially during COVID,
amazing.
right?
Right.
Well, luckily, it started just before COVID, but the idea was because they didn't have anything out there art-wise at all, which is sad. And of course, the way things are, budgets are limited now. So some of the first things that get pushed aside are the arts. And I was so glad to be able to contribute and that they could budget for it on the side. And that we could work together like that. And then, of course, with the COVID coming, they asked me if I could do the Zoom aspect of it, which I was like, I don't know how to. I've done a few Zoom things, but I
must add difficulty.
A lot of difficulty.
Yeah.
But I know that I've seen other people do it. So if somebody else can do it, then I can do it too.
Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to get two cameras going, and I get one kind of. I set up my tables and all my paints and get everything ready, and one camera on my face, one shooting down onto my art panel. I mean, I've got an easel that I work off, but the kids aren't going to have that at their disposal. They're going to be at home, so I try to think of what they're doing and how they're going to do.
COVID put so many extra stresses on a lot of us, but it's different little things like that you don't hear about. And
my goal was to reduce the stress in their lives. I know what I don't know. I can only imagine what the kids are going through right now through these last 2 years, and it breaks my heart. It really, really, unfortunately, my kids have grown up but I wanted to be able to do something to just, if I could just bring them some joy for a couple of hours. And I'll tell you, for children who have never painted in their life or never really done anything,
That's right.
they do the most amazing work. There's been times where I show them, okay, this is what we're going to do tonight. I show a picture, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do that." I go, don't worry, don't be overwhelmed by the detail. I'm going to walk this through step by step by step. And I remember one time, at the end of the class, one girl, she said, "That wasn't so hard after all."
Aww.
That's cool.
And I was like,
The
"Thank you."
resiliency.
That feeling of you reaching somebody, right?
Yes, it was like it reduced the stress off of them. I know when they look at her first,
And you,
like,
I'm
"I can't
sure.
do that."
And you.
Well,
you know?
exactly, because
Yeah.
I'm like,
You're doing
are they
something
going to be
right.
able to do this? I'm able to
That pat on
read
that shoulder.
Yeah.
when I see the kids are struggling a little bit, I know I can. I guess people are telling me I have the ability, so I can change it up. I can see if they're struggling here. I can move. I have something else in mind that I can, kind of save the day with them. I don't want to, get frustrated or anything, or show them that no, we're going to push on through and do what I tell you.
That's
But
awesome.
let's put it aside. Let's work on something else.
I'm proud
and
for
when
you.
they
I'm
forget
proud of you.
that-
I'm proud for you.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you very
It's an
much.
honor to have somebody like you in our circle, truly. Because,
thanks, guys.
It's almost, again, it's a lost talent, if you will. Even, if you think of your circle, and we'll bring that back a little bit later. But I mean, you guys are few and far between, and it's that inspiration going forward for the other kids to know, what, we're in the hardest time. We're in the hardest time. And there's somebody out there that cares enough to guide us through it, push us through it, but also be that inspiring role model at the end of the day.
It takes a leader. So way to go.
There's not very many
and I
people.
hope so. Yeah, I've had lots of fantastic influences in my life. That people that I still to this day I remember from a young age and all throughout my whole career. There's been many people of many ages, men and women, who have influenced me continually, and I look forward to the future. I mean, I'm bound to meet more people that are going to be just as influential to me.
I think you're going to also mold people into doing that.
I hope so. Well, and that's the whole point of me, paying it forward and giving something back, so that hopefully, even if just one thing, one night, somebody hears something and goes, "Hey, I remember," whatever it was, and it inspires them to do something.
Do you remember this?
I do, yeah.
You do,
It's one of my most favorite pieces. I've got the originals hanging up in my other room.
Thanks, Nikki from Dannö. And it hangs right by my bedside, right in between Marilyn Monroe and my collection of Marilyn Monroe things. But, I've always been attracted to your art.
Yeah, we have a few of your
I've got Marilyn Monroe is right there. On the other side of the
Is that right?
Right there. Yep, she's right there.
See, that's
facing me right now.
I'm just in love. Girl
So
crush.
I've got something I have to ask you. What's the coolest vehicle you've ever pinned? Like when you think back and you go, "Oh, I remember."
You know what? I've never asked you this in all the years we've been friends. I'm curious.
I am so fortunate to work on such a wide variety of cool hot rods and motorcycles, and from a good friend of mine, he's got I think it's 1940 Willys drag car, which I lettered the Dirty White Boy, and did some cool pinstriping on it. I've done some really super fun. I love piano delivery vans.
Okay. Yeah.
I did a 1940 van with gold leaf and custom lettering and filigree type of pinstriping all around it. That was fantastic. I've done dragsters that combined with the lettering, maybe a pictorial illustration and some pinstriping, and not only to do that, but then to be at a drag strip, and to see it ripping down a quarter mile.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
I lettered that thing. I worked on that. I made that thing look just maybe a little bit better than it did before.
Right.
That just swells my heart.
That's so cool.
It's hard to pick one thing. I love them all.
Okay, so it wouldn't be my bike then.
So it's not You'll be
well, I thought that just goes without saying. Well,
I saw the door open and I decided to walk right in.
Okay, so let me swing. Let me
just say though, there's been a couple of jobs that yes, there, and I know with your bike, Nicole, that I'm missing the word of it now. Just the emotion that gets brought on from the customer because there's always a story.
That's it.
There's always something connected to the work.
Right.
And definitely with your bike, there was a story to it.
The bike just has so much significance to me,
Yeah.
and to many, not only me, and it's my bike. So I'm kind of lucky, but I said to Paul, I said, you know what, I'm so curious. What's the favorite, project or favorite item that you've done? So it's been interesting to hear that,
it's the next one.
You personalize exactly, and you personalize with all of them.
And for me, it's funny to hear you say that I'm working on something that's so personal to you, because it was obviously very personal to ourselves, especially Nicole. But you doing what you did puts that personalization to us over the top. Right. Like you put you're the one that put the cherry on top there, my friend, and made that.
I put the linking wedding band on.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
definitely.
There you go, right?
So, we have to go to break, but when we come back, I'd really like to talk about my bike. So
absolutely.
I think that we'll dive into the bike and go in depth. So we'll be right back.
A message to owners of classic and antique cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Your Canadian source for new quality tires is Selmar Autoville in Eastern Ontario. They are the authorized Canadian agent for Universal Vintage Tires and Finland's Kontio Tires White Paw Classics. We can get what you need for your precious vehicle, dating back to the early 1900s up to the muscle car era. Check out our website at www.selmar.ca or call Fern at 613-632-6363 for a quote. Don't leave your vehicle in the garage because you need new tires. Drive your past in the present with Selmar Autoville.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Collector Car Drive-Thru Podcast. We are here with Dannö Drouin, and we're about to talk a little bit more about Nicole's bike.
So where do you want to start, my friend? Do you want to start on how we met? I think, we dive into how we met, where we met, and I want it from your perspective, because every year I get asked, who do you meet?
Yeah,
Where
we
do
have
you
our
go?
own little story, so this is going to be so interesting to hear it from your perspective.
Yeah.
Well, from what I can remember.
Right, exactly.
We'll keep it PG-13 too.
Absolutely. I'm trying to watch my, I don't think I've dropped any F-bombs at this point. So
no, you're doing good, brother.
You're doing awesome.
So I'll keep that going. I had to double check this morning based on the pictures from, back at that time. And so I think it was 2010, if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
And
I only remember because I was pregnant.
Really? Were you?
Yeah, I was. The first year. No, so the first year, 2009 was the first year.
No, you couldn't have been. Not with what we did that.
No, you better not have been, because.
Well, I'm saying 2009 was the first year that we went to Steve Plunkett's car show.
Right. So that's.
And then it was the following year we met you. So 2010. So I had Junior. Yeah, and he was actually in the hotel room with a nanny. Thank God.
Right. Okay. Great.
Thank God.
Okay. Yeah.
So that makes
Well,
sense.
I think so. What I believe what had happened was we were, our group of pinstripers, and there was Rolly and Darren and Craig. And I apologize if I've forgotten somebody else, but I know there was 4 of us. I'm going to say that we were invited to the charity dinner. We certainly didn't pay for it, because I'm pretty sure it wasn't.
I don't think any of us paid for it. We're low budget.
Yeah, exactly, right? Well, we didn't have center table neither. We were
Right.
We were taken care of because we were loved
over
by
in the rowdy
Steve.
corner.
Thankfully.
But I think we had the best table, though. We absolutely had the best spot, the best
really
table,
did.
and
Thank you,
that's
Steve.
where we met you guys. I mean, I believe I ended up sitting beside the two of you, and I'm not even sure if I knew you were a couple, but I saw Nicole, and I was like, I don't know where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
So I believe I sat beside you. And then quickly found out that, because you would have just said, "Here's my husband, Paul." So stop. Get your hand off of my knee.
I was so happy to sit
so-
beside you guys. It was uncomfortable because we were coming into the lion's den, if you will, and you know, it's funny because you know, I look at you and I look at you as my big teddy bear. So, you know, it was not something that I sat at a table full of men and was intimidated. So, you know, what a gentleman of you. So thank you, because that was such a beautiful night.
I appreciate that very much. And yeah, and we just got along like we were old time pals. Like
we knew each other.
Yeah, exactly. And the whole car industry, really, from my perspective, is like that.
True.
You know, I spent so many years in the commercial sign industry, dealing with corporates, and not entirely, of course, but I mean that it was a rough up and down haul for a good portion of my life until I started focusing more on in the car world, and now my customers are all just absolutely beautiful people. I love the whole community. Everybody, they go out of their way to, you know, to do things for you, and you guys too. And when I you know, eventually came up for the, what was it, a 2.5 hour drive to get to your place, I think.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, it was a long drive, and then to get there, and then break my kid out. Yeah, and then 7 hours or 6, I can't remember exactly. It was,
And
it
then-
was good.
I think it was
I
almost
remember
7 hours.
we
if
said
I
to you,
remember
no,
right. Yeah.
come, you can stay, and we'll host you for the night. And you said, no, I've got another job tomorrow. And I remember when you had, like, you were heading out to leave, and I thought, oh, this poor man.
Still got another 2.5
He's still
hour
got
drive
another
to get
2.5 hour drive to go home, and he's just
That
spent the
happens a
whole
lot,
day
yeah.
on my bike. So
But you know what? When you and I said our goodbyes, and when the job was said and done, I'll let you maybe go into that if you like. But you know,
it was
when
extremely emotional.
I spent 2.5 hours reliving that. So
Yeah.
for me,
Oh, wow.
it's a beautiful thing, and I'm honored to be able to do work like that for people, you know, such as yourselves.
It meant so much to me. It still does. That bike has such significant meaning. There's a lot of people that are unaware, but that bike actually belonged to Alex, who was on also Restoration Garage with Paul. And Alex was a personal friend, and we would oftentimes, we lived about, I would say, 2 concessions away, so maybe about 2 kilometers, I think, fair to say.
Yep.
And I would hear that bike, and my father, we were always at the racetrack. I was always in the garage with my father, and one of the best things that my father taught me was that you always listen. God gave you 2 ears to listen, 1 mouth. So by equivalent, you pay more attention to the listening than you do with your mouth. And so
Certainly.
I am really good with engines. And I listen to them, and I can diagnose them like nobody's business. And so when I was hearing the bike, sometimes 2-3 kilometers away, I would say to Paul, Alex is passing by, or Alex is going here. And
Keep in mind, to put this into perspective, we're in a rural setting, yes, but we're also not but 3 kilometers from the 400 series highway. So you're hearing all that kind of going on.
There's lots of
But
other
again-
stuff going on too. Yeah.
Well, Alex is coming down the road. Like,
Well, God
What do you
bless
mean
my
Alex is
father,
coming down the
because
road, you know?
he raised his girl right. So I knew exactly what engine was moving and when. And so a few times I would say, you know, that's Alex. And Paul would say, no, come on, hon, come on. It's not Alex. And I would challenge him and say, well, pick up the phone and call him, or call his girlfriend, Nicole, and see if it really is.
if he just left,
And time again, it was. And so one of, I think, the last times was we were heading to Walmart. Never forget it. We were going to buy a trampoline for the little guy. And I hear the bike. And I said to Paul, Alex must be coming into Walmart. And he looked at me and he said, could you please stop? This is a bit obsessive at this point. There's something wrong. And I said, I'm just in love with that bike and I really want it. Well, when we had first started dating, I said to Paul, being the Barbie that I was at the beginning of our relationship, I want a convertible that's pink. I want a Jeep that's pink. I want a Hummer that's pink, a motorcycle that's pink, everything pink.
Make my trailer pink.
Everything is pink. Yeah. And God bless his little soul, because he kept that little clipping of the pink. And then him and Alex made a deal, and I say deal lightly. Paul pushed him. Paul pushed him for months to sell his bike. And then Alex actually customized the paint color to the swatch that I had collected years and years ago.
I gave him that chip. Yeah. I'm like, it has to match this color.
And sure enough,
powder pink,
powder pink. And so the bike came about. And then, when we were filming for the reality series Restoration Garage, they filmed the bike being brought to me. And so there was a lot of meaning with that bike, because I thought to myself, this is my anniversary bike. This is my, husband's best friend, his bike. There's so much importance, but now I want to make it even that more special. And I knew exactly who I needed to call. So it was a quite fast decision when he said, what do you want for your anniversary gift? It was not purses. It was not shoes. It was not jewelry. And it was not a classic car, believe it or not. It was the pinstriping. So I knew I wanted you, and we saved up. And so watching you for, I want to say 7.5 hours, 8 hours. Yeah. And I mean, we have it all on camera. I was impressed. I had never seen somebody have that much dedication, compassion, and drive. And I was just floored. I was absolutely floored. And so
you never came out neither that whole time. You stayed in the office. I never saw you once. I didn't know you. Well, Paul did. I know he was, videotaping, but you didn't.
It was very emotional for me. I spent.
She was sneaking out every now and then. You'd see her around. Remember, we had that little section around the corner.
Every now and then, I would
you were kind
sneak
of in the main showroom doing it there, and she was in the office around the corner.
No,
and
you were sneaking.
I also
were sneaking in.
I was sneaking and peeking at Dannö. But I think what it was is I didn't want to disturb the artist, and I mean, meticulous is just the word that comes to mind.
Yeah, I remember badly wanting to be able to capture that on video.
Or question you at the time. So I'm questioning you about 12 years later. Right. I'm a little delayed. But for sure, I'm definitely going to even post some links of you filming, of you actually doing the pinstriping and us filming. Because you can't even. I can't explain it to the viewers right now. You have to see.
And I have some really good footage of that. I was taking so much footage of that with being so mindful of not saying a word.
And the funny part is that most people, again, they don't know that that bike unfortunately had a demise one day where, somebody thought it would be funny to smash the gas tank and cause damage to it. But it didn't get me down. And I thought, if somebody's going to try to do something like that, that's that underhanded. I've got the best friends in the best places. And I knew if I get that bike back down to London, that my dear friend Dannö was going to take care of that bike. And boy, did you ever, because it was exactly the same. It was like nothing had ever happened to it. So again, thank you. I know I thanked you then, but it's almost like a thank you for the second time.
Very curious over that situation, and I was glad to put it behind us and get it back to where it was.
I still have it. Something that has been a funny joke is most people often say to me, how come the whole bike is completely pinstriped, but the back, it doesn't have anything?
Yeah. That's my buddy. His respect.
And Paul often says, well, that's my buddy, and he has respect. And he explained that my wife was a classy lady, and that she didn't deserve a tramp stamp on her bike. So that's always been a funny story, and we've always laughed about that. So thank you for having such respect and looking at me that way. It's much appreciated. But right now, I think what we're going to do is we're going to go into our full throttle questions.
I like these.
This is fun.
Okay, bring it.
It's time for Nicole's Full Throttle.
So, what's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
When I'm not working.
When you're not working. PG-13.
No. Oh, that's hard to say because I'm never not working on this.
I know.
I guess I do enjoy other types of art. I do acrylic painting, landscape, fine art painting, portrait work with pencil, charcoal. So, which I do just for me. I don't do it for customers. I do that just my subjects, the things that I want to paint, which is, low key. I love. I've been working on this Evel Knievel portrait forever, but I do a lot of native art, and I love landscape painting of nature.
It's funny you bring that up because I know that you've been mentioning you've been doing a lot of walking lately. I think with COVID, a lot of us have been getting outside a little bit more, enjoying. And I've noticed yourself from some of your posts that you've been out for some walks. So I'm wondering, are you finding that a little bit more inspiring, getting out and seeing landscape?
Well, that's the other thing. I love to go hiking, go out in nature, take my dog for a walk, and just taking photographs, pictures of nature, basically just so that I could use as reference for more painting. I'm always thinking about, that would be a good painting. This would look cool. That's I can combine stuff. I've always got sort of that artistic mindset.
So we kind of dove into it, and I'm not sure if it would be the same, but what talent do you have that most people wouldn't even know about?
Ooh, hard to say. I don't know what other people don't know.
I know.
I guess I've been told I'm a very good cook.
I believe that. So if you could move anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Sorry?
If you could go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Where would you move if you could move anywhere? Iceland, eh? You know what? I wouldn't be far behind.
Newfoundland. Iceland.
Yeah, right.
Iceland, probably. They lifted mandates recently, so Iceland.
Right, yeah. So what is your favorite car show food? So if somebody sees you at a car show and they really want to get in good with you, what do they bring you?
I don't eat the car show food.
You know what? It's funny because we can dive right into it. So I know what to bring Dannö. It's called Bring Your RV and cook him some real good, wholesome food, because I don't know if you remember this, but I made you some spaghetti, some meatballs, and some garlic bread
with cheese.
And
yes, I do. Yeah,
it's something that a lot of people kept saying to me. Car shows are not meant for that.
the one meal that I did have in particular that I recall significantly here was a weekend that we were setting up. My friend Darren and I were setting up in Belleville, I think, for a weekend car show. We were there on a Thursday, and all day Thursday and into our setting up our display and all that, he kept on mentioning the celebrity that was coming, and I didn't know who he was talking about. Well, eventually I said, okay, who the heck is Jimmy Shine? And I know. What do you mean, who the heck's Jimmy Shine? I didn't know. I don't watch TV, and I'm an artist. I didn't quite know who he was. And now that I do, I understand the significance of Jimmy Shine. And Darren was like, I can't believe you don't know him. And then eventually the host had brought him by to introduce to us. And Darren's like, Dannö. And I was like, hey, Jimmy. I really give him,
So what do you do to treat yourself? If you were even at a car show or, you're out of town, what would you do to treat yourself?
I like to just lay in the hammock and read up at the cottage.
Dude. Interesting.
That's cool. You've got to come up to our new place. Yeah. I think you'll really enjoy it there. So what's your favorite color?
Well, it depends
as
on
an
what
artist,
colors.
it's hard.
Yeah, it's I like. Depends on the vehicle. Certain colors work. It depends on what else is on the car already. I like vermilion. That's a real good color for me. Purple. I have my own purple that I have pre-mixed in my with magenta and processed blue that I mix pretty much equal parts of, and I get this sort of a mauve, purple, royal purple look to it.
Cool.
And it goes good with Kansas City teal. So.
So I think it's fair to say that it's hard. I will remember that next time I ask an artist, because as I went to say it, I thought, wow, silly you. That's like asking me what my favorite pair of shoes are.
When we did your bike, Nicole, you said, like, what colors do you think? Well, it was that powder pink. Yeah. And I walked around it a couple of times, and the only thing, other things that you had on there where you had the white rims,
yes, right,
and the black,
and you incorporated
the rubber, and you had the black in the engine. And I said, "You've got black and white here. Yeah. They're kind of neutral. They'll go great with this pink." And
well, even the gold that you did, which, to be honest with you, most people look at the gas tank on my bike and they go, "Is that yellow?" And I'm like, no, look closer. Oh my gosh, that's gold, and well, yes, it symbolifies our rings, so yeah. So I think we already touched base on this, but city or country living, and that's our last free fraud. Nicole can't even talk anymore. So are you looking more for country living, city living?
I'm a country boy through and through.
I thought so.
Yeah, and although I live in the city, but I enjoy escaping and going out camping and being at the cottage and being awesome. At one with nature, for sure.
Very cool. Something we share in common, that's for sure.
So now, our viewers, if they're trying to connect with you, can you tell them where they can find you, how they can connect, and what your future plans are, and where where they can find you at maybe shows or online?
Thank you. You can reach me through my website at www.dyingart.ca or through Instagram. I have Dannö's Blackheart Designs, and you can find me on Facebook as well. I've got a business page on Facebook with the same name, and that's pretty much the only places that I'm at.
Perfect. And you know what? I have a funny feeling we're going to be calling you back, friend. We have a special
we didn't have quite enough time.
Little project that's going to, Paul and I have been talking about something.
Yeah, we might have a surprise for you coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's good. I'm open to doing whatever comes down the road.
You like surprises from us? You're okay with that?
I do.
All right, good.
I'm going to be around. I'm available. So.
Well, thanks for being our friend for so many years. Yeah. Thank you for being so inspirational to so many young generations that are coming into the industry. Truly. And more importantly, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, brother.
And best wishes for everything going forward. I think we're going to be, definitely touching base regarding my bike again. We have some ideas.
And your cooking.
Oh,
I got to try your cooking.
Yeah,
you mentioned it, so now I'm like,
we will host you. You are more than welcome. But you're going to be put on the spot. We're definitely going to want a meal.
I will make you some ribs that you will die for.
See,
right?
That's how you talk to a girl.
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're looking for some custom pin on any type of vehicle, please call our friend Dannö Drouin at Blackheart Designs. We wouldn't call anybody else, and we definitely send all our customers to them. So you'll see the link here, and thank you so much for your time, brother. It's been a pleasure.
Hey, thank you. Pleasure's all mine, man. One love.
All right.
Cheers.
Take care. Bye, my friend.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us today on the Collector Car Drive-Thru Podcast.
That was awesome.
It was fun, wasn't it? It's nice to see. It's nice to see Dannö again, and we got to get together.
You know what it is it's so comfortable when you know somebody,
right? And
it almost becomes welcome to our living room. So thank you so much for joining us, and tune in to us on Patreon.
See you there.
Take care.